David, I know that you have firsthand experienced career transition because you almost for a decade worked as a teacher, and then you felt the need to transition to a new domain of work, to completely change your career and where you wanted to be. Can I ask how was that whole change? It must be a very big one. And what inspired you, or what caused the whole change to begin with?
So yeah, the change was massive, and I think the biggest change was the change in structure. So going from being an employee to somebody who works for themselves, you are suddenly in a situation where everything is up to you and everything is your decision rather than being directed in what you do. Um, so freedom is a positive thing, but with freedom comes responsibility and the need for discipline more than anything. In terms of what motivated, I think I felt stuck. I think I was teaching for 11 years. I taught in the same school that I went to as a student. So I'd spent the majority of my life from the age of 11 years old in the same building, which was great. I loved the building, I loved the school, and I loved working as a teacher. But I was stagnating. I think it got to a point where I'd reached a certain point in my career, and they were asking me to advance in my career, but I didn't see the benefit to me in terms of the work-life balance and income. So I was kind of stuck, and I thought, right, if I don't do something, I will end up being 65 years old in the same building that I've been in since I was 11, and that idea scared me a little bit. So sometimes we're motivated towards things and we're inspired to do things, and sometimes we're motivated away from things. And this was very much a case of being motivated away. Um, so we went in. It's the first day of the school year, and I sat down, and we had the same meetings we'd had for the last 11 years, and the same discussions. And I thought, right, that's it. I went and handed my notice in on that day.
I guess I know the feeling. I mean, there's like a moment when you think about the future, and then you get a bit scared of am I going to be in this environment with these people and just stay there, not move any further, not explore anything else?
I mean, I think you should definitely be a little bit scared of of getting too comfortable, right? Because if you're comfortable, I mean, comfort is a great thing, but it's also the enemy of growth. And I
Mhm.
think, one of the things that people are worried about or concerned about is regretting the opportunities they didn't take, and the decisions they didn't make. And I think that's a big fear, right? You get to be old and you think, well, how would my life have been if I'd just had that little bit of courage to do the thing that I really wanted to do in my life, or to do this thing by myself and not rely on other people. And you miss 100% of the shots you don't 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So
Yeah.
I think that is a natural thing to look at your current situation and wonder if there's more meant for you, or if you're capable of doing more. And again, even that is a scary concept as well.
Hmm. So I know for you and me, it's been moving away or closer to what we had in mind. But when it comes to people you've worked with, the professionals you've helped to navigate through their career, have you spotted any other whys behind these career transitions?
Um, Sometimes it's monetary. Quite honestly,
Of
people
course.
think I could be making more money. Sometimes it's the feeling of not being valued where you are, um, wanting to make more of an impression. But I think the main one really is people not feeling that they're stretched enough, or they're not putting themselves in situations that challenge them. And I think it's interesting because most people, from the age of 0 to 18, almost every day there's an increase in challenge in education. You're always learning new things. Every day you go to school and you've got new subjects and new topics. So, well, you should do, right? And then you leave school and you either go to university or you start a job, and that's a new beginning. And then you get married or you find a relationship, and that's a new beginning. And then maybe that relationship falls apart, and that's a new. So you've got all these series of new things, but you get to probably about the age of 30, and you're probably quite set in where you are. And
Mm.
and being in that situation can be uncomfortable in itself because you're used to making progress, and then the lack of progress then becomes something that we want to avoid. So doing something new, even if it's not the right thing to do, at least we're doing something, and that makes us feel good about ourselves.
Yeah, I think it does. What about the challenges that come in the way? I mean, well, I can tell from my experience that it wasn't, probably it was the hardest thing that I ever did, because it involved moving countries and completely starting many things from scratch. But not everyone goes through that. So when it comes to challenges, from your experience or from people you have worked with, um, what are those? Can you name a few, and how probably they navigated those challenges?
I think one of the big challenges is that you're forging a new identity for yourself. So if
Hmm.
you're changing career, you've gone from, in my own example, from being a teacher to being a business owner and a coach. That's a whole new persona that has to be developed, and it has a whole new set of rules. It has a whole new set of parameters. Has a whole new different group of people judging you in different ways. When you move country, again, you're in a new country. You're a blank slate. People don't know who you are, and you can be who you want to be. But then deciding who you want to be can also be, a challenge in and of
Oh, it
itself.
can be freaking, yeah, it can be really scary. I mean, when I remember, I mean, you were just saying, and I remembered about, like, it was 2 3 years ago almost, and I think the hardest part was letting go of how I knew myself, because I had this persona, like, characteristics in my head about me, which were all true. I wasn't like lying to myself about them. And I had built them through years of working with other people, interactions, relationships, and everything. And then I moved completely to a new place when no one had any idea who I was, and they couldn't care less, to be honest. I mean, why would they? And then I was like, okay, but I am this, but I am that. I did this, I did that. And it took me a while to realize that I really need to let go of everything, and try and create everything from scratch. So yeah, I've done that. It's very hard. But would you recommend anything to make it a bit easier for someone else when they want to build that new persona for themselves in a new career, maybe?
I think it's really important to future pace and to think about who and where we want to be in the future. But what we often do is we decide what we want to achieve, and then we worry about how to get there, but we don't focus on the habits that we need to put in place in order to become that person or to achieve that thing. And just, I mean, just taking it like health, for example, someone might have the goal to lose weight. They're like, oh, I want to be this certain size or weight. And then they don't focus on actually the things you need to do are the things that will make you that person. So focus on the actions rather than the outcomes. Yeah, you want to do that thing, but focus on every day, what do I need to do tomorrow in order to become that person, and then focus on achieving those and setting targets for those actions rather than, because the big picture can be really overwhelming. I want to be a new person. I want to own a business. There's so many different things that go into that. I want to, be this happily married person, whatever it is, whatever your big goal is, actually that's really overwhelming. But if you take a step back and reverse engineer it and just focus on the things that that sort of person does on a day-to-day basis and focus on those habits is really important.
But how can we identify what are the habits that that person doesn't on a daily basis? For example, that someone want, I know that we can obviously go and find out, but is there like an easier way to do this? I,
I know. I
I'm
mean, it
just thinking about
depends.
different examples. Like, for example, someone wants to start a business. I'm like, okay, but where do I start? There are so many things.
Yeah. So this is, again, it's about clarity, right? And it's about focusing on what your business is and who you want to help and how you help them, and knowing that very
Mhm.
specifically. But also, what does a good business owner look like? Are they disciplined? Are they resilient? Are they strategic? So what are the habits then that build discipline? Waking up at the same time every day, doing the same things at the same time. So you're reverse engineering. This is who I want to be. What are the things that person does, what do they look like? And you'll make mistakes and you'll get it wrong. And you'll do things that don't fit in with that and they don't feel right. And that's fine as long as we're learning from those experiences and adapting and reflecting and reviewing constantly. And I think reviewing is something that people don't do enough of. So we have
Mhm.
something called the cycle of productivity, is where you have an idea, and you start the idea, you finish the idea, and then we go back to having another idea. But we don't often take the fourth step, which is to pause, reflect, what went well, what didn't go well, how can I improve again? How can I do things differently? If it was terrible, fine. What were the lessons? And actually, often we learn a lot more lessons when things go horribly wrong.
Is there a way that we don't need to actually rely on our willpower, but like a system that we can trust on and help
Yeah,
us do all this?
100%. I mean, there are loads of things that you can rely on outside of your willpower. And I think this is the key difference between motivation and discipline. Is motivation gets you going, and people always talk about how motivated are you, or what your motivation is. Actually, motivation gets you going, and discipline keeps you going. I think motivation is a powerful tool, but you can feel really motivated on a Monday morning, and by Monday afternoon, you're completely fed up with everything and everyone, right? So it's
Yeah.
the discipline then that comes in. So we use the motivation to get going, and then we instill discipline, which keeps us going and keeps us consistent. And it's also understanding of what consistency is. So a lot of people have the idea that consistency is putting 100% in all day, every day. But actually, consistency is about doing what you can at any given moment. And discipline isn't always about putting 100% in. It's about doing the things that will move the day forwards in the right direction. So again, just taking health and fitness, is people often think, oh, I'm too tired to go to the gym. But actually, going to the gym and doing a terrible workout is better than not going at all. So we have
Mhm.
this idea that we're always striving for perfection. And I think part of that is social media, where we're sort of presented with these false ideas of what an ideal person or an ideal life is. Um, so discipline and consistency are always going to be key. And then the other things to rely on, and often overlooked, and this is why networking is such a big thing especially in the small business world. It's quite lonely being a business owner, but having other people that can hold you to account, and having other
Mhm.
people that you can connect with and who can support you and who understand you is really, really important. Um, so finding your tribe, people call it, finding that group of people who understand you, understand who you want to be, and will ask you the right questions as well as to why you're either doing it or not doing it. And I guess that's why lots of people employ people like myself, is because you have an external motivation then. And I get it as well. When I have my own meeting with my own coach once a month and I check my own plan, I'm like, oh, I haven't said that, and I said I would. Now I have that external sort of influence. I wouldn't say pressure, but yeah, it is kind of pressure to get those things done that I said I would. So
It's
self
a positive
accountability
way.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, self accountability is tough. So having someone else, and it can be a business partner, it can be a romantic partner, it can be your children even can hold you to account. And actually, children are often the best people at holding their parents to account in many ways.
Yeah, I can really attest to that because maybe it was a force of habit for me, but every time that I want to really get something done, I just tell someone that I absolutely don't want to look bad in front of, that I'm going to do this. Then I have them like, do it. You have to do it because I mean that's a really good way. Another thing that I try, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but it just works, is that I throw myself into something which on a normal day I would like, oh, this is too hard, don't do that. But I just throw myself into it. Say like, I will do it, and then I have to figure my way out of it and figure out how to do it and deliver it. And it like most of the time, almost all the time, is I just can deliver it and learn something out of it, and say like, whew, done that, and then I didn't look bad in front of the people that I said I would do that. So for me, it just works, but it's too stressful. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's another thing that I try.
I mean, it's the traditional way of teaching children to swim, isn't it? You throw them in the deep end,
Oh
and they
yeah.
learn and they learn to swim. And it, I mean, it works. It's effective. Like you say, it can be really stressful. So would a more structured approach, would starting in the shallow end with someone to help and support you and guide you along the way make more sense? And I mean, that's why people pay people to teach them how to swim, how to golf, how to run a business. So yeah, I mean, there are merits to it, and if it works for you, it works for you. But if it's if it's causing you lots of stress, then maybe you should be revising that.
Yeah, I recommend your way, absolutely. But yeah, I really agree. When you talk about habits that would help us get through this transition, um, what are the top ones that come to your mind? I wanted to say top five, top three, but I wouldn't put a number to it. So, what are
I
the
mean,
best ones that come to your mind?
it completely varies from person to person, and that's why the exercise we'll do later on is so powerful because, and it's almost impossible to predict because what works really well for one person will be terrible for another person, and it will just completely fall flat. So it's about trying. The main habit is to get into the habit of trying different habits and reflecting on them
Mhm.
and thinking, right, did that work? What was good about it? Why did it work? If it worked, and if it didn't work, why didn't it work? And not being afraid to try new things. Okay, I
Mhm.
tried, like, you're struggling with your mental health, for example, and you try meditation, but you really find that meditation isn't for you. Okay, fine. What else can you try now? Okay, I'll try going for a walk, in the park twice a day. Oh, that was really good. So we'll keep that then, and we can build on it. But I think there's a couple of issues. People try something, and they're so committed to that thing that they've been told is the golden bullet, or that works for everybody. And even though it's not working for them, they keep doing it. And then because they've been doing it for so long, we have that sunk cost fallacy where, oh, well, I've invested this much time and effort into this thing.
Mhm.
I'm going to keep doing it. And for me, a perfect example would be like running, for example. People say, oh, you should run, it's really good for you. But if you hate running, why would you carry on doing it? And it becomes really difficult to keep doing it as well if you really don't like it. So find something you do enjoy. Just because it works for other people doesn't mean it's for you. So the main thing I would say is being open minded and trying different techniques and different habits and different methods until you find the ones that fit you and your own personality type. Definitely. I think there's also the feeling like, so there's the word failure, which I have a big issue with anyway. But when you feel that you failed at something, it prevents you from trying other things. So if we reframe
Mhm.
our understanding of what it means to not succeed or to have a disappointment, it's just feedback and we're learning from it. So, oh, I was no good at tennis, so I'm just going to give up tennis. That's fine. Find something you are good at. But you might just think, I'm no good at tennis, I'm just going to give up on exercise altogether, which is obviously not the right thing to do because you've stopped doing it because you think failure is inherently bad. Actually, failure is just a way of learning and developing.
I know that there are so many challenges involved when we want to do this transition and work on something completely new, and it's terrifying. And we talked about habits which help you gain that clarity and stay on track. Are there any other coping mechanisms that you might suggest and recommend for people to just get their heads around this? And
I think it's interesting you use the word stay on track because one of the key things is to track and measure progress. Because
Mhm.
often what we don't see is the progress we're making because we're inside our lives. But taking the time again, and this is the reflection, taking time to take a step back. Where were we when we started? Where are we now? And then we can see that we're making progress, and it's a powerful motivator. Which is why I guess they test kids in school so frequently, so they can see they're making progress, and it keeps you on track. So yeah, tracking and measuring your progress is really important. And then, and as almost cliche as it sounds, but being quite kind to yourself at times, because again, it's easy to look when you're struggling and you've
Yeah.
made a big decision and it seems to be backfiring. It's easy to be negative towards yourself, but it's remember why you did it in the first place. So it's that Simon Sinek thing. Start with why. Why did I make this change? What was the motivation? And then reconnecting with that motivation to give you that little boost. Even though motivation wanes, we can reconnect with it and use it to keep going.
Wow, I'm so happy you said this because I was just reminded that my mentor all the time encourages me to look in retro, to look back that what you have done and how you were here at this point in time and now how you are performing the same thing at this point in time. So yeah, looking back in retro really helps. I mean, to be honest, looking how far along you come after so many difficulties, so many challenges, bumping up in your way, it feels good. And also, it's completely necessary because otherwise, we're just like, oh, I'm just going to give up. I'm not getting better and better because we always compare to how we are doing it right now. But looking back in retro really helps. Thank you.
On the word compare as well, the other thing that is really helpful is not to compare yourself to other people, which is a big risk because you start comparing yourself. And a lot of our sense of dissatisfaction is because we think we should be somewhere that we're not yet. And we think we should be there because other people are already there or have already achieved it. And again, I think in the modern world, especially compounded by social media, you go on LinkedIn or you go on Instagram or you go on Facebook and you see other people who are living these lives that look incredible and they're really successful. And you're like, well, I'm working really hard, but I'm not there yet. Not understanding that most of those people are probably exaggerating a little bit, if not a lot. And it's that thing, isn't it? Don't compare yourself to other people. Just compare yourself to how you were yesterday and who you were yesterday. And then just try and be a little bit better tomorrow. And focusing on the 1% improvements as well. Because if you can be 1% better tomorrow, then in a week you're 7%. And we're looking at that compounding, just slight improvements every day. And eventually you will get there.
Yeah, 1%. I like that one. When we look at people who are already there and really smashing it, and that's where we want to be, there is a fine line probably between looking up and getting inspired and encouraged and motivated by seeing what you see in those people. And what you mentioned that you're just comparing and then giving up because, oh gosh, there's no way I'm going to be like them. What is that fine line?
I mean, it can be. It can be. I think there's definitely truth to that. But I also think it depends who you're looking at and how you're comparing. And it depends what you're comparing as well, right? If
Mhm.
you're looking at somebody's spirit or resilience, then yeah, that's brilliant. But you could compare yourself to this. You could look at the spirit and resilience of someone who wasn't as successful as you, and still take motivation from that. So it depends what you're comparing. If you're looking at sort of arbitrary signals of success, sort of wealth, status, things that come and go quite easily and quite quickly, right? And we're seeing that a lot at the moment with people who were previously quite high status, suddenly overnight reduced in title and reduced in position to and sort of vilified. So yeah, you can admire people's courage and determination and drive and skill and talent. Of course you can, but comparing yourself to things that those things might get them is a dangerous game because they're fleeting as well. They're not things that are permanent. They can come and go. So this is an exercise that I do with sort of elite level businessmen, but we also do it. So I as well as E3 coaching, I'm the co-founder of Humanetics. So we're a well-being business, and we work in schools with students who might have a probable or positive mental health diagnosis or a behavior issue. And we do this exercise with them as well. So, and we get really good results each time. And we're going to look at 4 areas of your life. And the first area is your being. So BEING, and being is your mental health, your current state, your emotional state, how in control of your emotions you are, and how steady it is as well. Because, like we say, motivation comes and goes, and sort of happiness is also something like you can be happy 1 minute and sad the next minute. So if you write down the word being and then just give it a score out of 10, with 10 absolutely fantastic and 1 really terrible. So
Yeah.
the next word I want you to write down is the word energy.
Hmm.
So energy is your physical health. It's how much energy you have, obviously. But it's not just how much energy you have. It's how consistent your energy is, but also how well focused your energy is. So when we do this with kids, they're always like, "Oh, I'm a 10 out of 10. I've got loads of energy." It's like, okay, but do you use your energy well, or are you annoying your teachers? Oh yeah, I annoy my teachers. So then you can't score yourself highly. So how much energy do you have, and how well do you use that energy in a positive direction? The next one then is relationships. So how well do you get on with people? And I want you not just to think about the relationships with people that, with your friends and your people that you're close to, but also those relationships which maybe they're not so good. Maybe the person at work who gets on your nerves, without naming any names. Because every relationship you're in, you're 50% of that relationship, you're half of it. And
Mhm.
how we show up affects how that relationship goes and what that relationship produces. So what would you score yourself in terms of relationships? Maybe there's some
Yeah.
relationship management. Maybe you're giving too much, which might bring the score down a little bit because it's affecting the other areas negatively because you're always pouring out rather than holding stuff back. The last word is impact. So impact is what you're doing, how well you're doing in your career or your business, how you're making the world a better place, the impact you're having on other people. So generally, we could think of this as almost like success. And what would you score
Mm.
yourself out of 10? I think there's always, I think as humans there's always that risk that we don't give ourselves enough credit. So there's two ways we go. We either think we're doing really, really well and we're doing better than we are, or we play down how well we're doing because we're quite hard on ourselves and we're afraid to let ourselves admit to ourselves how well we're doing. So the key is always with this exercise is to try and remove yourself from it as much as possible and do it as an objective exercise, someone looking at you from the external, as it were.
Mm.
um, and the aim is to get to 10 out of 10 in all four areas. So this is how we become unstoppable. And they're all interlinked, right? If your mind isn't right, you're probably not going to eat as well as you could or sleep as well or exercise as well, which means that you've got low energy at times, which means you're more likely to snap at people. You're less likely to make time for those relationships, which would make those suffer, which means you can't really advance as well in your career or in your business or in your value driven work if you're not building relationships in the right way. So they're all interconnected, and one going up will affect the other ones. You have a successful day at work and you feel really good. You do a workout at the gym and you feel really good. You have a really good talk with a friend and that makes you feel good. It increases your energy. But the one we always focus on first, so we've got internal and external. Internal is your being and your energy. You have most control over those. And like you said, relationships and impact, there are external factors which can affect how well we do in those. So we always start with the internal work and we start with being. So now we're going to choose one thing and you're going to give me some suggestions. One thing that you could do in the next week that would bring that being score up from a 6 to a 7. And it can either be an action or it can be a habit, right? It's either something you'll do one off, for example, go for a massage, or it can be a habit, something you're going to do every day, meditate every day.
Thank you very much to everyone who joined us. Thank you, David, for
Thank
giving
you.
up your time and sharing your experiences. I really enjoyed it and I learned a lot. And I hope it's the same for everybody who's watching us or is going to watch us later before
No,
we
just thanks
end.
for having me, and I hope people found it useful. And
Absolutely.
I definitely enjoyed myself.
Thanks very much and have a good rest of the night.